Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mile High Sports Symposium. I am JT Matthews at JT Matthews01 on Twitter, and I'm here with the doctor, Nicholas Manning at Dr_N Manning on Twitter as well. Doc, happy Wednesday. We're a little early today, but life happens. So, how you doing?
Well, I'm going to take that as you love me.
Yeah, of
And
course.
yeah, a little earlier, just trying to adjust the schedule, celebrating Juneteenth today. So got to move some things around, but glad to be talking sports with you today because it's fun.
Of course. You got plans. Sound like you guys were going to go to the pool maybe later. I don't know. The weather's looking a little iffy though.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Time will tell.
I would be fine because I'm probably not going to get in the water very much. I don't know that my kids, like if they're going to whine and stuff, like what's the point? So we'll see. Maybe a park, it's cool. Like they can run around and not like overheat. So like it might just let's go rock the park. Something like that, maybe. Something like that.
Very fair. I think I don't know what the plan is this afternoon. I think we're gonna go to my parents' house. The plumber's coming over, turning off the water. So
you don't want to be there then.
You got to go somewhere else just in case.
I mean,
in case nature strikes and you're in a tough situation.
Believe that. You don't want to. You gotta make sure your ducks in a row. Number 2.
Yep, exactly. Well, let's talk sports. Let's talk first. We're gonna spend the bulk of the show on the Denver Broncos. That schedule, we hadn't really talked schedule at all since it's come out. I know we're a little bit late to the party, but we've been focusing on other things. And, when it released, it was kind of the dead of playoff time for the Broncos and the Avalanche. And so that's what our primary focus was. But now we are kind of in a dead season for those sports, and we're into baseball and football off season. But that being said, I want to just talk a little bit about Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic, MVP, reigning MVP. Sadly, no longer reigning champion.
Right.
We'll have to target for that next year. But I just want to get your feel on. So it's pretty well known at this point that he will be playing for Serbia in the upcoming Olympics. Do you have any issue with that? Do you have any concern about him playing? I mean, obviously, every time he goes out there, you worry that something could happen. He could suffer an injury, something like that. At the Nuggets, I don't know if Jokic was, hurt or more fatigued at the end of the season, but you always worry that, with a heavy playing load, that maybe playing over the summer is not a good idea. What's your main takeaway with that?
Yeah, with him, I'm not worried. I think he's earned the trust. So even though he was, the season that took its toll, he showed up every game. So I'm not worried about his effort and desire to do that. So him, Yoko, do what you want to do. 3-time, 3 out of 4 MVP seasons. Could have been 4 out of 4. I mean, just probably one of the best 4-year stretches. Not named Michael Jordan in a really long time.
Yeah.
Right? So, I feel like he's earned the right to go do it. And my worry though is Jamal. So Jamal's going to go and play for Team Canada, and cool. Hats off first to those guys to represent an entire country. I just think that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
With Jamal's up and down last several years with injuries and fatigue, that one I'm a little more worried about. Not the fear of maybe something catastrophic happening, but just wear and tear. That said, every 4 years and all that stuff, he probably wouldn't get another opportunity or might not take another opportunity to go play. So you get it. But that one, I think he's the one that I worry a little bit more. He seems more susceptible to the trials and tribulations that happen to players. And for this team as constructed, to be back in a championship window, he has to produce, and he has to produce much more than he did this postseason.
Yeah, for sure. That's Canada team's going to be pretty good too. They got Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. They got Jamal. Some NBA guys in there. RJ Barrett, I think. Nick Gilligan, Alexander Walker. Lou Dort, I think, is also on that team. So some good guard play for sure on that team.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. It's interesting for the first time in a long time. I think the U.S. team is going to be stacked. I don't know if anyone's seen that roster, but it's pretty wild.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. LeBron's playing, so that's always a draw. Team Canada is going to be good. Obviously, Serbia has been good in recent history.
Australia has been they've always been a good, tough group.
France always puts together a good team.
France, Spain, Argentina. Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's some good basketball being played across the world, and that probably, to be honest, is like even more of a motivation for Nikola, who has a ton of national pride.
For sure.
And so, that's a little bit why, for both of them, I wouldn't, as the team, step in and say, "Hey, you're more valuable to us than going to do that." I think, earning a gold medal, I don't know where it ranks anymore, to be honest. I don't know where it ranks anymore with Larry O'Brien Trophy, gold medal. That's pretty freaking dope. There's a lot of rando people that have been on a winning team for a championship in their respective sport. But you better be, you have to be good to get a medal, right? You don't get any back end, has-beens on the roster, right? You're getting 1 through 12 are ballers. And so you're going to contribute if you're on an Olympic team. So, you're earning anything that you get out of it, you're earning. There's no free rides in the Olympics. So I hope it means as much as, it did when you and I were kids or younger, right? Golds and Olympics, in my opinion, kind of had more of a weight. Not really sure where it's going today. So I hope for those guys, the experience is good. Maybe just going to play for your country and having a little bit of fun is invigorating and not draining, where it doesn't feel like it's your job, you're going to play with your countrymen to represent your neighbors and your family and your state and your all of that stuff, right? And maybe that's a little bit more energizing of a task than it's game 67 in Indiana. That kind of Olympic basketball is probably way more fun to show up at work that day than Indianapolis. Yeah. Right.
I wonder too if Jamal plays over the summer, and especially if they go far into the tournament. I wonder if we'll see him come into camp and to the season a little more in shape than he typically is. Not to say that Jamal's super out of shape, but I think part of his problem historically is that he gets off to a little bit of a slow start and gets a little dinged up early on in the season. So I wonder if that will help or hinder him. I think it'll be fascinating to watch. And just to go over, just since I had pulled it up, this is the U.S. roster for the Olympics. Everything we can get behind this team because this is our team.
Yeah.
Bam Adebayo, Devin Booker, Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Halliburton, Drew Holiday, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Jason Tatum. That's insane.
That is freaking insane, dude.
That's great. That's a crazy team. I don't know.
It's Bam is by far in my opinion, he's the 12th guy.
Yeah.
And he is a perennial all-star.
Yeah, I would put him or Drew Holiday probably as well.
And because Drew's game is it's Aaron Gordon, right? It's
he
does he does the other stuff, but he does it at an elite level, Hall of Fame worthy elite level.
Right.
If you've watched Drew Holiday play, he's just so sound, smart, tough. He brings that while also being able to drop 20, and so he's not going to be a guy that's hitting 40 or 50 in a game, but he's a guy that locks down the guy that scores like, you're Spain or you're Italy and you got a couple really good studs, right? And it's like Drew Holiday just like takes one of them out. You're just like,
yeah, exactly. Just
come on,
negate
guys. You guys have
player.
you have 12 All-Stars on your team. Leave Drew on the bench for a little while. Jeez.
Yeah, for sure. And
that's pretty sick, man.
The coaches,
and how disappointing would that be if this isn't a gold medal team, right? Like,
yeah.
All right, space puppies, go.
Here's the coaching staff too. Just real quick: Steve Kerr, Mark Few, college coach, Tyronn Lue, and Eric Spoelstra. Like, you're talking about some potential Hall of Fame. I mean, Eric Spoelstra is probably a Hall of Fame guy at this point.
Yeah.
Steve Kerr is probably a Hall of Fame guy. I think Tyronn Lue's knocking at the door. Get him a championship with another team, and we'll see how that goes. And then Mark Few,
right? Like, we're making Gonzaga a perennial, Final Four contender.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't seem to matter who goes there. They're always competitive in the tournament. So not just in their division. Some would say that it's a little bit weak for a basketball division, but they show up and they compete every year in the tournament and face the best.
Yeah, anyway, they're starting to get guys drafted super early now. It's not just a good, sound, fundamental group. They're producing some NBA talent.
Yeah,
Brother and all that good stuff. So
DeMontis Sabonis.
Yeah.
So a number of guys coming out of that program.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears. I don't know. I don't think we have any Avs talk right now. I think that we could talk.
It'll be, at Casey Middlestead. It's really going to be, what are they going to do with Middlestead?
Mm-hmm.
What are they going to do with Drouin? And then outside of that, it's really cheap Bettman guys are going to
and draft.
And you got your draft pick that probably wouldn't contribute on the NHL level for a couple seasons. You're probably going to get, hopefully maybe a high upside talent to go to Colorado and play for a while, or you send them overseas, or let them marinate in juniors or what have you. And then it's like, does Val come back and does Gabe come back, and at what level do each of them come back?
Right.
I think it's really like we have attached our championship hopes to both of those gents. Trading them, like what Gabe's capable of being. So even if he's like 80% of what he was, that's still like 25 goal scorer.
Right.
Jushkin, right? You saw the difference when he's on the ice versus not off the ice. It's a completely different outfit. And if what would you get in return? Probably not the same going out. But that's, $12 to $15 million or so in NHL money. That's locked up with two guys who you don't know where you're going to get. You don't know if they're going to come back. You don't know if they're going to come back at what level. If they're going to stay. It's not envious. Not envious for sure.
Well, let's talk Broncos. We haven't gotten to the schedule yet. Like I said at the beginning of the show, this is something we've talked about doing, and we just keep getting sidetracked by, Nuggets playoffs, Avs playoffs. We did some roster deep dive before we went over the schedule. So now we're at the schedule portion of the season. We going full predictions here because we've done this in the past. It feels maybe a little early, but I don't know. I don't remember if we've done this.
Yeah.
Did we wait till after camp?
We'll do both. We'll do here, and then maybe we'll see what's changed, if anything changes.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah. I think that's fair. All right. Let's get into it then. So week one, I'm skipping preseason. That's for when we're in it and we're really desperate for football. We'll be excited when it rolls around just to watch Bo Nix get out there. But
I mean, preseason games are extended practices, right? I mean, that's essentially it. So the outcome does not matter in a preseason game.
Yeah, exactly. So we're starting week one.
Sunday, September 8th, 2:05 p.m. at the Link in Seattle, Washington. The Denver Bridge. Just kidding. What do you think? I know what I think. I've already put some mind thought of it. I'm actually, I don't know if you've looked. So Adam Rank, NFL.com, NFL network analyst, is actually usually really good prognosticator. He was one of the only ones that had the Broncos a ton during the 5-game win streak last year, all that good stuff.
Okay.
He has the Broncos going 10-7.
Wow. I haven't seen that. That's impressive. That's
right?
good.
Like that's like I'd sign up for it. I don't care. Right now.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd sign up for 7-10.
Yeah, I probably would
mix
too.
looks good. But there are some, apparently, there's some attuned national media types who don't think that the Broncos are going to suck. So that's out there. Just
Okay.
gonna say it. So now
it's out there. I hope that I can.
National part. Now here's the two best local guys about to chat this bad boy out.
Right. We're always so
on the
active.
road to Seattle, facing Geno Smith and the Seahawks. What you feeling, dog?
Man, I struggle with this one a little bit. Part of me is like, I wish we had Seattle a little bit later in the year. I wish we had them at home, not on the road. Anytime you play in Seattle, it's extremely tough. At their height, they were at almost unfair home team just based on the noise in that stadium.
Yep.
I am leaning towards an L. I'm not feeling super strong about it, but I'm leaning towards an L just because it's early. I think that they'll be healthy, assuming no major injury happens in camp. Guys like Tyler Lockett, who you could kind of be expected to be a little dinged up as the season goes along because he just historically always is, are going to be healthy. So I'm going to say an L, but I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be competitive. I don't think the Broncos are going to get stomped on right out the gate. I think that, it's going to take time for this offense to start to click a little bit too. And so that's kind of where I've landed with that. Now tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, you woke up today, so just kidding. My man Clayton on it for sure. You're kind of looking at, I'm fortunate enough to be able to look at PFF matchup and looking how these teams kind of stack up. I think playing Seattle early also, because brand new coach, brand new systems.
That's true.
You also are getting a chance to kind of see that, or maybe this group hasn't gelled yet. So you never know. You never know really like how that's going to go. My thought about the game is I think that they're actually going to win this game. I thought it would be a loss. I was pretty I was pretty well kind of subscribed to it. However, I really like the addition of John Franklin Myers. I think that the safety tandem now, or triplets with Caden Stearns, I think it won't be as big of a drop off as we think that it would be.
Okay.
And I do think that they're going to get more consistent play from the cornerback position coming out. So you already have McMillan, and now he's entrenched. They didn't know what they had yet. He wasn't even playing at the beginning of last year, right? So, and then I think you're going to get improved play from whoever CB2 is over last year's version of Damari Mathis or Fabian Moreau, who for a couple of games was a good plug stop. However, wasn't real good as the rest of the season went on.
Yeah.
Riley Moss has looked really good in that two spot. Mathis has looked to pick it up. And then you get Levi Wallace, who, in my opinion, is a better veteran than Moreau was. Looking at the offensive line for Seattle, they did not grade out well at all last year. Even Charles Cross, who was a top 10 pick, the highest graded offensive lineman was Cross at a 67.6. Everyone else is in the 50s. And Zach Allen, who showed his chops, was much better as the year wore on. You got Franklin Myers, Jonathan Cooper, a little bit more established, Baron Browning, Nick Benito, who Browning missed the first half of last season. I think that's a really good matchup for this team. And Noah Fant being their tight end, I feel pretty good about the Broncos' ability to be able to match up around there. So I think Bo's going to come in without a game plan, about what he does or what he doesn't like. I think there will really be a lot of quick game because it has to be super duper loud.
Yeah.
But that's what he's good at. And, when you have the right guy, right mix, I think they're going to come out with the dub. So I'm going to give them that. Am I overly confident? No.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's first game of the year. You don't know what you're going to get with the Seattle team with a new staff. And you don't know what you're going to get with Bo Nix, who I believe will be starting by then. I would say, to be honest, if Jarrett Stidham starts, I for sure believe they win. Because that means Jarrett Stidham was head and shoulders above where Bo Nix has been, and Bo Nix has looked great. So if Stidham starts, that means he is phenomenal, which it sounds like he has been actually. So I would even be more confident, which is kind of weird about that. So, yay. Yay.
I don't want Stidham. I just don't. At this point, I just don't want Stidham.
That's not about what I want, for sure.
I know.
I would rather not. But I do think if he's starting, because Sean Payton wants Bo Nix to play. That's his legacy, right? Like, that is his handpicked dude. If Jarrett Stidham starts, that means he had to be so freaking impressed that it's like we would do a disservice to the rest of the team if we didn't play him.
Right.
It's really like that level. Like, how dope is that? So I would feel even better. New season, right? All that stuff with him coming out than I would with Bo Nix. Long-term prognosis over the season, who's going to give you the best chance to develop and all that good stuff, notwithstanding. So Game 2 at home against Pittsburgh Steelers. And their quarterback, Russell, I found the fountain of youth, Wilson. I'll go. You want me to go first since I
you do this one first.
Yeah, I think it's a loss.
Okay. All right.
And strictly because their defense is just it's really good.
Yeah.
They're like legitimate. I would say if you were to tell me where their weakest area is, it's the secondary. And however, to be able to do that, you have to have time. Alex Highsmith was the 10th ranked edge rusher, according to PFF last year. His buddy TJ Watt was number 5. TJ Watt also had 19 sacks last year.
Yeah.
Defensive line looks even more stout with some additions and some emergence of some key players. So I don't know how much time you have to be able to get the ball out. I do feel good about the Broncos' ability to be able to keep the game close defensively, just because I don't think Russ. I think Russ is going to be much more suited for this team, and I think their offense will look better. That said, they didn't play tremendously well last year. Broderick Jones was a little bit of a disappointment, so I expect him to bounce back. Fairmouth, they got Pickens, all that kind of stuff. So I think that they have enough that Pittsburgh's going to get the win here in Denver, which will make me sad.
Yeah, I'm a little torn on this one as well. It's tough. These first 2 games, I think, are tough. I think Seattle, I lean towards because there's been more continuity, even though there's been some upheaval with their coaching.
Yeah, but it's the same. Yeah, it's the same skill guys. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Right, and so, but I feel a little bit different about Pittsburgh, and I think that it's going to be a game that's won in the trenches, and I don't know. I look at the offense for the Steelers, and I'm not too worried about it, honestly.
Right.
If you shut down the running game, I like Jaylen Warren. I think he's a good back. I think if you can limit him and Harris a little bit, George Pickens is a good receiver. I think could be a great receiver. We'll see if he takes that next step this year.
I think physically he could be a great receiver. I don't know if he has it upstairs. That was my worry about him when he got drafted. And I thought maybe that early success, he was going to get addicted to the goodness. Has not happened yet, for sure. Yeah,
and then their next receiver, at least on the depth chart as of today, is Van Jefferson. And Van Jefferson is a good. A good vet, he had some good years and with the Rams, but just as like a third or fourth guy.
Yeah.
Now
he's a good wide receiver 3. He's not much more consistent guy, not a game breaker for sure.
And so I think that it's really going to be about who wins at the line of scrimmage between the Steelers defensive line and the Broncos offensive line. I'm actually going to give us a win on this one. We're at home. I think there's going to be some gas in that stadium. Yeah. I think fans are going to turn it up against Russ.
Yeah,
I think that there is an opportunity, especially if Bo Nix is your quarterback, to just give them looks that they may not be expecting. I think you can game plan against a dominant pass rusher like Watt. Now, if we can't get good blocking along the whole of the line, then that is going to be a huge issue. But game plan some good running, a good running attack. Take advantage of Bo Nix's athleticism. You may have an opportunity to get a bit of an upset. So I'm going to give them a win in this one.
I like it. You might have talked me into a win. I already said what I thought, so I'm going to change it.
So but that's all right. That means we both have them 1-1 after 2 games.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Let's go to the next game, week 3, September 22nd. Early game against the Buccaneers. I think either I got lost and the doc's lost the Wi-Fi, but I'm going to keep talking in the meantime.
I'm good. I can hear
you. So Buccaneers, that's an interesting matchup. I think it's going to be in Florida, in Tampa. And that is always tough going from wet mountain time zone to East Coast. I tend to think that this will be a loss. I think Tampa Bay's got enough weapons to make it really difficult. I think Tampa Bay is, especially on the offensive side of the ball, they've got good receivers. If you can win one-on-one against Mike Evans, if he's healthy, if Surtain can put up a fight there, maybe you stand a chance. Baker Mayfield's not the best quarterback in the world, but he's a good veteran starter for a team that has some veteran guys that can still play. I don't know. This one's a little tougher for me than the first 2 even, because I think that Tampa Bay is a little bit in no man, or they don't know. I don't know what direction they're going with this team, right? A lot of older guys. Some guys will probably get shipped off at some point. Some decent young talent, but it's not no one that everyone's kind of expecting to elevate this team to the next level. I'm going to say a loss just because it's a road game, an early road game on the East Coast. But again, I don't see it as a game that the Broncos can't win.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think all of the first 3 are winnable games. I think that they will be underdogs going into all of them, and I think that that's fair also. So, sure. I like Tampa's offense. Baker Mayfield played really well last year. Godwin and Mike Evans are absolute monsters. Trey Palmer kind of came on late, and I think Otten is a really good tight end. So they got pieces. On defense, though, their secondary was absolutely garbage.
Yeah.
And they lost a lot of pass rush. And I don't know that they've done enough. I don't know if they've done enough defensively to overcome that. We'll see. I think it's going to be a really good. I think it'll be a really good matchup. I also have it as a loss. I think, they more continuity, established quarterback play. So I think that they're going to come out. They're going to come out, especially with an opportunity to win the South. I think that they feel really good about where they're at. And some people with some championship pedigree still on that roster. So I think that we both have them 1 and 2. And really quick, Graham asked, who is our center? Who do you think's going to come out of that? If you were to ask I'm going to say Alex Forsyth, just because of the Oregon connection, and he was drafted by Peyton.
Yeah, I would guess the same probably. Just again because of a potential comfort level with Bo Nix. But it's one of those that is we're gonna go into camp and we're not gonna know it's gonna have to take some time to. It's gonna be a caution regardless.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope that they make a call early. Hope the call for that position happens within the first couple of weeks, so that person and the line need to be able to gel. I think at center, you keep moving in and out. It'll take a little bit. So hopefully that competition isn't open long and the Broncos know who their center is. If they don't know after the first week or two, I think they call up Connor Williams, former Cowboy / Dolphin, and then they say, hey, I'm going to give you some money this year to come be our center. That'd be what I would do. Week 3 on the road against the New York Football Jets.
Week 4.
Broncos will, the Broncos will be playing the Jets week 3 on the road. Who do you got? Week 4 on the road. What's your take?
Yeah. I'm gonna lean towards the Jets. I think the Jets are an up and coming team. I think with Rodgers, as long as he's healthy, that's just a tough team, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They've got some good players. I think Breece Hall is going to elevate this year, even more so, and I think he's already a good back. Garrett Wilson's one of my guys from Ohio State. I think he's an obvious. I was expecting a breakout year for him last year because Rodgers came to New York, and obviously he got hurt in that first game, so that didn't come to fruition necessarily. But I think that that team is just tough. That team has always been tough on the defensive end, even in the years where they haven't won a lot of games. They've always had some stout, especially on the defensive line. They've had some stout play. It just becomes tough to expect this team to win against a team that has a veteran quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. And whether you like the guy or not, he's a talented quarterback, and he's going to win that team a lot of games, or win that team a lot of games.
Yeah, I have it at L2. I think really just what they have defensively. They have stars on each layer of the defense, whether it's inside, outside pass rusher. Both their cornerbacks are top 20. Safeties are both really good. And then you go to offense. Mike Williams comes in as their number 2. If Mike Williams is playing at that point, Aaron Rodgers is like the back shoulder fade god, and Mike Williams is a guy go get it guy. And I think that's going to be a really fun marriage between the two. They signed Tyrone Smith, who graded out really well in his last year in Dallas. If he's healthy, they're going to be more than okay. That's a big if. A guy that gets hurt quite a bit. So that team looks like a solid team that should be making some noise, outside of injury. So I take that as an L. That one is one that I'm most worried about, kind of a letdown. It's a really good team on the road. Again, on your road 3 out of your first 4, especially if you're 1 and 2. Learn a lot about the team in this matchup for sure.
Yeah, we're not off to a great start. Historically we've been pretty optimistic, and so I think this lines up more with my perspective as opposed to your perspective. But it's tough when you have a rookie quarterback,
Yep. Yeah, and I think when we do it again after camp, I think we'll have a better sense of what that will look like. And to be honest, once some of the other positions that are up for grabs get settled, I think that'll also help me understand kind of what the ceiling is for this team. It's also a group that I think won't hit its stride until probably about now in the schedule that we're talking about. The middle part, especially if they start Bo Nix, 4 games under your belt, like, okay, you get a little bit. So week 4 at home against the Las Vegas Raiders.
You keep doing this. It's week 5.
Gosh dang it. I keep doing that. Week 5?
Yeah.
So we got them 1 and 3, and I'm going to take this as a dub.
Okay.
I think they got to end the streak. They should have in week 1 last year. They didn't. I think they will rebound. I think, like I said, this is kind of the second quarter now of the season with a quarterback that hopefully maybe has gained some traction. On offense, I really like their tight ends, Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers. I don't know if they know how to use them, so we'll see. We'll find out. Devontae Adams is still a really good player. Jacoby Myers is a good player. But the Raiders, like secondary and linebackers, are atrocious.
Yeah.
So hopefully this group, as in the Denver Broncos, are more committed to the run. And now you have a quarterback that will keep you on schedule. We saw that in the first matchup last year. If Russell Wilson has like any ability to be able to hit throws over the middle or being able to convert on third down, the Broncos probably win by 2 scores. So I think with an improved run defense, I feel really good about where the Broncos are going to be at about this time. So I have us back on track with a dub.
Yeah, I've got a dub too. We're home, which is always a big factor. We've not played well against the Raiders in the last few years, and so I think it's
4 years. Yep.
Yeah, it's time to get back on track. I think that this is the team you can do it against. Even their talent that they have, it's out on the offensive side of the ball, aside from Devontae Adams, is young. You probably need some time to develop, especially if you get a guy like Brock Bowers out there, unless he's lighting it up, early on. It's probably going to take some time to get him integrated into that offense. Jackson Powers Johnson's going to be a starter on this offensive line. I think he's got a lot of upside. I do think he's raw, so it may take a little bit of time for him to get comfortable logging some starting minutes on that offensive line looks like they have him listed as a left guard right now. If you can stop Max Crosby, which has been a problem, if you can key in on him and slow him down and chip him as much as possible with your backs and get your tight ends to get some that could put some bodies on him, I think this is a winnable game. Like you said, I would maybe attack the middle of the field there.
Yep.
Their linebackers aren't really anyone that is scaring anyone. I think Divine Diablo is more like a safety, kind of a tweener between a linebacker and safety. So he's got some decent coverage skills, but I think that's a group that you can exploit.
Yeah.
So I would be looking to keep that short passing game going, like we've talked about previously. See if you can get guys some space and take advantage of the personnel that they kind of don't have right now.
Yeah, love it.
So that's a W for both of us. So we both have them at 2 and 3.
Right,
so
bouncing back, 2 and 3.
I like it.
At home now against the Los Angeles Chargers.
So weird to say Los Angeles Chargers.
I know, man. I don't know at what point I'm going to be okay with it. We'll see. Anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know either. This team is interesting in the Chargers. I think Herbert is a legit player. I think he gets crapped on a little bit. He has had some struggles in some big games, so I understand the scrutiny. But I think it's safe to say he's a talented offensive player. However, that offense looks completely different than it did before. Yeah. You lose a guy like Mike Williams, who, let's be honest, was only effective when he was healthy, and that was not very often. And he wasn't always real effective, even when he was healthy.
Yep.
They drafted.
He's a one-trick pony, and
for sure, it
definitely was like a streaky. He catches 5 touchdowns in 3 games, kind of thing, and then you don't hear from him again for 6 weeks.
Right.
Yep.
That offensive line is fun. I like their offensive line, especially the 2 guys that they drafted most recently, in Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater. I think that'll be interesting to watch them work throughout the season. They picked up J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards from the Ravens, so some familiarity with that.
With the family and the running backs, yeah,
exactly. If Dobbins is healthy, he can be effective, but I don't know how much explosiveness he's lost with multiple season-ending injuries. So that'll be interesting to kind of keep an eye on. He's always a good receiving back, so that's something you'll have to watch. I wouldn't say Austin Eckler but there's some similarities between the 2 backs. Josh Palmer, I like Josh Palmer when they drafted him. Quentin Johnston, I thought was overdrafted. I didn't think he was the best receiver in that class. He hasn't really shown that yet. I do like Ladd McConkey. I do think that was a good draft pick this year. That's someone that I would have been okay with the Broncos taking at some point if they had the opportunity. Joey Bosa, if he's healthy, can be effective on that defense.
I don't know that he's going to be on the roster.
James Irwin.
I don't know that he's going to be on the roster week 1.
Okay.
I feel like he's a guy that you can move. Someone's going to get hurt before week 1 for a team that's really trying to rebuild.
That's fair.
They're not making a Super Bowl run this year. And so part of it is like, we're not making a Super Bowl run. You have some younger talent at the edge position. Von Miller got you second and third. I bet Joey Bosa can get you a second and third.
Yeah, that's probably true. And especially if you send him to a team that is competing now,
right,
for a Super Bowl, I think they could find some value. Send him to San Francisco. Let him line up opposite his brother over there. Secondary's fun. I like their secondary. I like Asante Samuel Jr. I've always liked James Irwin. When he's healthy, the dude could play and at a high level. Ultimately, I see this as a W for the Broncos. I think it's tough to say. Always division games are always tough, but I don't have faith that this team's going to turn around in 1 year under Jim Harbaugh. Ultimately, I think he'll be a good NFL coach again, but he implements a certain type of system that he expects to execute game plans with, and I don't know that they have the personnel for that to come to fruition right now.
They do not.
So I'm going to say a W for the Broncos.
Yeah, I align there. They literally have no one to throw the ball to.
Yeah.
Their first pick last year, Quentin Johnston, fought the ball.
For sure.
Johnston, Palmer, Josh Palmer, and CJ Chark. No, DJ Chark. Yeah. And their interior offensive line is and so running the ball, smash mouth sounds great, but you got to have all 5 guys to be able to contribute. Zion Johnson hasn't been that great. Trey Pipkins is okay. Bradley Bozeman is like average center. There's no longer really a receiving tight end threat. Parham's a good player in the red zone. That's about the gist. So I think the Broncos win just based on the transition that the Chargers are under. I think Herbert is a really good player. I don't think he's transcendent. We haven't seen him elevate everyone else's play, and I don't know that this group is good enough for them to get by with. So agree. Got the Broncos with the dub. So we both have the Broncos heading into week 7.
Got it.
On the road against the New Orleans Saints. So comeback game, welcome home game for Sean Payton. I'm just going to say it right now before we talk about personnel. They're going to win that game. There's no way. Like Sean Payton will be scheming up schemes. He probably already had, to win against his old team. I also think that Bo Nix is a potentially better version of Derek Carr, and that's who the Saints quarterback is.
Okay.
So I think by now, right, 6 games in your belt, you got some away games. You kind of are in the I'm a professional player routine, and so with that, I think that the Broncos come out with a win. They have a better coach. I think that there's some added juice there to beat the old team. I don't know that they necessarily feel like they got to beat Sean Payton. He's with the Broncos. They're not going to see him very much in their spots. Plus their offensive line, which has been a strength for a long time, I can say isn't that right now. Ryan Ramczyk may or may not even continue playing football. And so someone with that skill set stepping out, they have some okay pieces, but I think that the offensive line will struggle. And then in my opinion, it's Chris Olave and a bunch of dudes. So kind of the same thing as we've talked about. On defense, I really like what they do on the defensive end. I think it'll be a low-scoring game, especially with how loud they get. But they don't have much in terms of edge pass rushers. That makes me feel concerned. They have okay edge guys, but not great. And then outside, Marshawn Lattimore really took a step back last year in his play. I would assume that probably is going to be a trend moving forward a little bit. So I think their defense is susceptible to give up some points. So I think that the Broncos win.
Okay. Man, I'm torn. I do think that there's a good opportunity for Broncos to win, but I do also like some of the players that they have at their disposal over in New Orleans. Obviously I'm an Olave guy, another Ohio State receiver that I'm a fan of. I do like Rashid Shaheed. I think he can be a playmaker on the offensive side of the ball. And he's speedy, so I think that could be a tough matchup for whoever CB2 is going to end up being. I think that the offense has got to run through Alvin Kamara really, in order for this team to be successful. And I think that that'll be a difficult thing for the Broncos to narrow in on. However, I think they can do enough to win this game. So I will give them a W here. Like you said, I'm more looking at the defensive side of the ball. I like Marshawn Lattimore, but like you said, he didn't kind of live up to, how he had been playing previously. Another Ohio State guy for the record. Tyrann Mathieu, I think he's always been a good player. Creates turnovers, so we have to be careful about making sure we know where he is on the field. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, yeah, Cameron Jordan's a good edge rusher, but he's older now. He hasn't been as effective as he has been in the past. I look at their linebackers, Pete Werner, Demario Davis, Willie Gay. I'd say middle of the pack, maybe back end of starting linebacking cores. And then offensively, like you said, it's kind of Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara, and that's it. So yeah. I think that the Broncos will have the opportunity to kind of showcase more offensively, kind of spread the ball out a little bit and make them guess, and kind of challenge that defense in a way that, they won't be able to do against a lot of other defenses throughout the remaining schedule. So I will give them a win as well against the New Orleans Saints.
Boom. Pow.
4-3. I would be very excited if this is the case.
Yeah, I think it's in the realm of possibilities for sure. All right. So week 8 home against Carolina. So you got 10 days. It's a Thursday night game against New Orleans. You go back home, 10 days rest against most likely the worst team in football.
Yeah.
Is there any reason why this wouldn't be a dub? Outside of catastrophic injuries, any football reason? What?
Not that I can really think of, honestly. This is a team that you should beat. A team that has some nice pieces, but haven't been able to really pull it together yet. The only thing that I could say would impact that is that, if you get a Bryce Young level up, that might be the only thing that would make this extremely challenging. I do like Chuba Hubbard. I think he's a good running back. They've got some good pieces. They drafted Xavier Legette, who's a guy I liked in the draft, but I don't know that he's going to be a game breaker for them. More of a possession receiver. Deontay Johnson can be great, but he also doesn't play every play. He just takes plays off whenever he wants to. And then defensively, this team is just kind of a bit of a dumpster fire. Yeah. They have some kind of good pieces. They pulled over Josie Jewell, who obviously we're fans of, but again, Josie's not necessarily a game breaker. Jadeveon Clowney had his moment, but that's kind of passed, and has been past for quite a while. Xavier Woods is a good safety. J.C. Horn, we'll see. I think he's been injured, so it's been hard to kind of get a full read on what he will be. So they have presumably some good pieces, but just nothing has really come together and gelled. Maybe by game 8, they'll have some semblance of continuity, but otherwise, I just think this is a Broncos. Broncos are better. Their roster is better constructed, and their offensive game plan will be superior just from a coaching standpoint.
Yeah, 100. I'm not even going to add extra stuff. Save my talking for some of the games that might be. So we got 5-3 Denver Broncos traveling to Baltimore to play the Ravens. Is there any reason why this could be? But any reason why or how this could be a win?
Yeah, no, I mean, outside of, like you said, outside of catastrophic injury, probably not. This is a team that's going to be competing for a Super Bowl again. This is a team that's perennially been in the hunt for the last so many years. I just don't think the Broncos are ready to compete at that level. I think that, is it a road game too? Plus it's a road game. So, that's just another mark against the Broncos in this instance. I'm hoping it won't be a blowout, but I kind of see it being a one-sided affair, unfortunately. I think the Baltimore is going to be in the thick of it when it comes to playoff time and rankings as far as their seeding going to the playoffs. So they could be a top contender. They could be a top seed, and Broncos aren't ready to hang yet.
Yeah, 100%. Baltimore's roster is just impressive. You had Derrick Henry to that backfield with Lamar and Mitchell. That's a ton. Mark Andrews is still, top 5 tight end in the league, top 3.
Yeah,
Zay Flowers,
even if he's hurt, that they got Likely.
Yeah, and Isaiah Likely came in and played fantastic. Zay Flowers is just was exactly what they needed. They needed a guy that could make big plays.
Yeah,
and didn't have to rely on Lamar putting it over the top. You got a guy that can catch a 6-yard hitch and make it a 20-yard gain. Defensively, they're going to be an absolute nightmare. So this will be a real good litmus test. Like, do the Broncos have the stones to go into Baltimore and compete with a really, really good team? I think that they'll lose for sure. I'm pretty comfortable saying that. That said, how they lose will matter to me.
I agree.
A few moral victory games, but for a team that's trying to rebuild on the fly, rookie quarterback on the road against a team that was in the AFC Championship game last year, was the number 1 seed in the AFC. They go and they lose 24-21, 24-20, within a score, that kind of thing. That would make me feel phenomenal. So this is actually the only game so far that is I'm okay. I've already acknowledged that they will probably lose this game, and I just want to see growth. I want to see that they are ready to compete with the league's best teams, right? And competition doesn't seem necessarily mean win, but it definitely means the fourth quarter matters, So that's my take. Anything different than that, my man? Dang.
No, I think you said it all. I think we both got an L there, so we're going to have to unfortunately drop the Broncos to 5-4 going into a matchup at Kansas City.
Yeah, that's a rough back-to-backer. They played Kansas City really well, so I think it's a team that has an opportunity to be able to continue that streak going. That said, the Chiefs are the class of the NFL, and the Broncos will have a backup quarterback, still really probably learning. So I give them a puncher's chance. I think that they should. Last year they could play with them. Now imagine if they have a quarterback that keeps them on schedule. But Kansas City is still Kansas City, right, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. So the Broncos lose, evening up their record at 5-5.
Yep. I'm with you. I think that the Broncos do have a chance. I think that they have an opportunity to win a game. It'll be interesting. This offense again, I think is better than it was last year. The addition of Xavier Worthy, I think, was good. The addition of Hollywood Brown is interesting.
Yeah.
Rashee Rice, if he can stay out of trouble.
The same guy though, too, right? Like they brought in.
Yeah, that's true. I would agree.
I'm so tired of not having smaller, fast guys. We're going to go get 2.
Yeah, I think this offense is just a lot to handle right now. Even if it is a little bit one tone. I think Isaiah Pacheco has shown he's a good NFL running back. We'll see if he can become a great NFL running back. And their defense. I don't know that it's a great individual. There's a super amazing individual player. They've got very good guys. Chris Jones is always an impactful player. You think the chance that you have with this offense is if you can win against that defense over the top a little bit. We'll see. If you can get some of our speedier receivers on some deep routes and connect with them, then maybe we've got a chance to kind of keep up on the offensive side. But I think in Kansas City, I think it's a tall task. So I'm gonna, like you said, kind of err on the side of deference to a team that's been dominant for so long, and give the Broncos a loss in this one.
Yep. So, all right. So, got kicked in the teeth a little bit. We're at 500, heading home to play Atlanta, and either Kirk Cousins or Michael Penix. Who knows? Who knows who?
Yeah, we'll see. Michael Penix or Kirk Cousins.
I would assume Kirk Cousins is going to be there, probably playing pretty well. They're 6-4, 7-3. They're probably something like that.
Hey, Doc, you're cutting up real bad, so I can't hear you very well.
Sorry. You are also cutting up, mister.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can get that restored a little bit. I'm not sure what's going on, but Falcons, like you said, could be Kirk Cousins, could be Michael Penix Jr. We'll see. I think I don't think you pay Kirk Cousins to watch him sit, but it looks like your quality is a little bit better if you want to jump back in it.
Yeah, I think that that this team will match up pretty well. I like Kirk Cousins. Potentially, maybe even this game's flexed, and how he handles the limelight. He has some good pieces on offense, absolutely. Really some high-end talent with Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. That said, I'm not a Kirk believer. So I think, if the Broncos defensively can get some pressure early, which they can, they have a okay line, but their tackles could be pretty suspect, as well as their left guard. And so if you can really create some pressure and play with a lead, I think the Broncos will bounce back and get a dub.
Okay. All right. I like it. I have this as a W also. I will be interested to see if any of the receivers or offensive threats for the Falcons will level up with Kirk Cousins as an addition. I think that's a possibility, especially a guy like Kyle Pitts who struggled since he's been drafted. Essentially, feel like he's been overdrafted. Maybe this is his opportunity to buck that narrative a little bit. But I also think that these are things that the Broncos can handle. These offensive talents are good; they're not great. I think if you can bottle up Bijan Robinson a little bit, make sure you don't let him get free in open space. Get to him behind the line of scrimmage a little bit. The thing that I do like about this Broncos roster is that defensive line, their ability to stop the run. And so I think if you can affect the running game in this one and control that line of scrimmage, I think the Broncos can get a win.
Yeah. I think they'll be much improved in their run defense. So I concur. It's a good group, though. It'll be interesting. Atlanta.
It'll
be interesting to see if they're able to kind of finally get over that average hump and really compete in the NFC. So we'll be paying attention, obviously. Next on the road against the Raiders. So
again,
65 Broncos playing against the Raiders. What do you got?
I've got a loss, and I've got a loss. I'm just not ready to say that the Broncos will beat the Raiders twice in a season. It's just we've played against them so poorly historically. This is not necessarily an X's and O's take, but this is just a division opponent to take, right? Like it's hard to win 2 against anyone in your division, right? In the NFL, that's why they say any given Sunday, anyone can win any Sunday in the NFL. I just have a hard time putting them. I just have a hard time thinking that they'll pull out 2 wins against this Raiders team. I think that Antonio Pierce is going to be a good coach. I don't know if he's quite there yet, but I think if nothing else, he's a player's coach. He'll get guys up to play, especially if they lost the first outing against this team. They still have some good talent. Even if we match up well against Devontae Adams and with Surtain, then we got burnt a little bit last year by Jacoby Myers.
Yeah.
There's going to be some things that are difficult. Luckily, they don't have Josh Jacobs anymore, who always feasted against us. But I think that they'll do enough to get a win against the Broncos at home.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. I think, I don't think you lose 8 in a row and then all of a sudden you figured it out. The only caveat with this game will be, what's the Raiders record at that point? The trade deadline is a couple weeks prior, after the week 9 matchups. So in between week 9 and week 10 on November 9th, I think. And so, are they moving Devontae Adams? Are they moving, some guys like that to be able to maximize that? Maybe they identify they got to go get a quarterback next year, and we're going to try and get capital to make sure that can happen. And then if that's the case, I definitely feel like the Broncos will win. I think that the Raiders group is pretty feisty. I think they'll be competitive all year. So I think we agree that this will be an L. So back to 500.
Yeah,
coming home against the Cleveland We Wear Orange Browns. What I'll go first because I think I made you go first the last couple of times. I'm taking this as a win. I think and for no logical reason, then I don't think Deshaun Watson is good anymore. And I think that they are trying to play like nurse him along, and it looks atrocious. Like it just looks like such bad player scheme fit. And in doing so, I think with all the same players, all the key folks here, the Broncos ran like the ball down their throat last year, and you're bringing in the same, your same guy, same mentality against the same scheme. So the trap again should be able to be there, which gutted the Browns quite a bit. And I think that the play of a steady Bo Nix versus the up and down nature of Russell Wilson will keep their defense guessing. So I think the Broncos will win that game.
Okay. I think it's a loss. There are some pieces on this offense that I worry about. If Nick Chubb is back to full health, he's a monster. He's a tough guy to stop for any defense, even though I like our defensive line and our ability to match up against them.
I mean, Nick Chubb is special, man. That guy's different.
Yeah, he'll just going to break off some runs that'll break you back a little bit. Amari Cooper, I think, is a really good receiver still. He's kind of fallen behind some of the other receivers in rankings, but I think, with a competent quarterback, then he can show that he's still a good player. They got Jerry Jeudy. Maybe Jerry Jeudy wants to make a statement against this team. We'll see. I don't necessarily fear that. I do fear Myles Garrett. However, I don't think that there's any person or maybe even combination of people on this roster that could stop Myles Garrett when he's at full health. They got Denzel Ward, who I think is a good safety. They've got Greg Newsome, who I think is a really nice coverage corner. He's got some good speed. I just think that they've got enough individual talent, even if schematically they may not be as strong as some other teams. I think they've got enough individual talent to make it really difficult for Denver. So I'm going to pick an L against the Browns, unfortunately.
Yep. Well, since we disagree, how do we pick? How does the official Mile High Sports Symposium decide when the two brains are opposed?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, let's just copy down our records. Yeah. We'll compare them next.
All right, that's
next pod.
But I would if we had to pick, hey, you only get to veto or whatever one game this year. I would give you that game.
Okay.
On paper, the Browns are all that in a bag of potato chips.
Sure.
And we'll see. So I think very much like that team with good quarterback play should be Denver. I don't think Watson is that good anymore. And I think their tackles are really susceptible. And if you can get Deshaun to make some errors, give yourself a short field. I think they showed last year that they can match up pretty okay. So I'm going to go with you though, and that we'll call that a loss.
All right. Now the Broncos have the Colts in Denver, so that's always a good thing. How do you feel like that we match up against a Colts team with a potentially healthy Anthony Richardson at quarterback?
I like where Indy is going. I still don't think that they are there yet. So I'm going to give the Broncos a dub. It's also because it's after a bye week, so they're going to be rested. I feel like you have more time to game plan for specific stuff that the Colts will have or throw their way. So I think usually you get the best bounce back. Last year against Buffalo, the Broncos came in with a really good game plan against a team that they had no business beating and beat them. So I think the same thing will happen with the Colts.
Okay. I would lean loss, but since you gave me one, I'm going to give you one. We'll give him a win here. I just think Anthony Richardson, if he's healthy, is a special player. I think he's going to be. I think we're going to see flashes from him this year. If Jonathan Taylor's healthy, that's a really tough 1-2 combination, especially on the ground, to stop. And I think Anthony Richardson is going to make the Broncos work. They're going to have to really be sound in their lanes and make sure that they're, accounting for the whole field, against this offense. And so it makes it really difficult. They added a guy in Adonai Mitchell, who I think is a good receiver. Michael Pittman Jr. has been really consistent, really strong for them. Josh Downs is an interesting receiver for them.
Yeah.
And I think that they've got a pretty good offensive line overall. So
probably one of the top 5, in my opinion.
Yeah.
On PFF,
so it gets really difficult.
They graded really well. I mean, it's a good stout.
Yeah. So I think it would be difficult, but I don't see that it's unwinnable. So I will defer to you this time. I'll give the Broncos a W, and that puts them at 7-7 at this point in the season.
Nice. All right. Well, next week against the Chargers, week 16 on the road, even though they will have more fans than the Chargers. What say you, sir? What do you got?
Yeah, I got it.
That's right, you do.
I think the Broncos can win again. I think they can.
Yeah.
I think they'll win this game. I think that, again, it is difficult. I think it's difficult to sweep your division, but I think that it's this team is not one that I have a lot of faith in so far. I like the way that they're building. I like that they're building in the trenches. I would be somewhat excited if I were a Chargers fan, just based on some of the moves that they've made and the additions that they've made of young talent. But, I think that this is a definite rebuilding year for this team outside of Justin Herbert. And so I think if you're going to win 2, this is the year to do it.
Yep. Yeah, I think, again, I don't think defensively they've done anything to improve, and offensively their skill position players are not great. So, like Giselle said, my husband can't throw it and catch it, and so I don't think that they will get that there. So chalk this one up to a Broncos win. So we have them at
8-7.
8-7. And then on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals. And if, since Joe Burrow gets hurt every other year, this is his year to play healthy. And if that's the case on the road in December, it's like wet, nasty cold in Cincinnati. I would, for a team that's probably fighting for playoff positioning or the division or, all that good stuff, I think that the Broncos put in a good effort, but we'll take that L, as I think Joe Burrow, T. Higgins is going to play this season. So really dynamic offense. And I think people aren't aware of how good they are on defense. That's been
Yeah.
one of the better units. Add Geno Stone, who was really, really good in Baltimore last year. And I think you got the makings of a team that's going to challenge for the Super Bowl, which means they're probably in a different class than the Broncos currently. And so that will be a L.
Yeah, I don't know if you can do enough to stop that offense, especially if T. Higgins is still there. There's an opportunity for them to offload him at some point if someone suffers an injury or something. But we're assuming, we're doing this before camp and everything. So assuming that the roster stays pat,
right?
It's just a really tough, dynamic offense. I think they lost a little bit in the running game, but they replaced their running game. They brought in Zach Moss. Who I think is a serviceable running back. I think he's a good receiving back. But I think at the end of the day, it's Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow. And I don't know that we even have enough just to stop those three guys. I don't know if we can get enough pressure. And on the defensive side of the ball, they've got some good players. They got Von Bell, who I think is a good safety. Sam Hubbard, Trey Hendrickson are good ends if they end up staying with the team, or if Hendrickson ends up staying with the team. Cam Taylor-Britt has moments where he's a bit of a ball hawk. So I think they have some good players and more talent than the Broncos currently. So I think that's a loss.
Yeah. Yep. It'd be cool if it wasn't, though.
It would be
and
cool.
It does look like so. Trey Hendrickson got a little bit of a pay bump.
Oh, okay. Cool. I missed that.
He's on the cap hits, so we'll see. That was in May, or May 13th it was out. So potentially he is all right. We got some guarantees. We'll see. Similar boat as Cortland Sutton a little bit. Obviously much more of a productive player at this point, but nonetheless, I think that team is just a damn good football team for sure. Yeah. Finally, week 18, the Broncos are now at 8-8. Chance to be above 500, first time since 2016. Against Kansas City. So some things that we have to take into account is Kansas City playing for anything? Is Kansas City playing for anything? So
that's the biggest one for sure.
Within that in mind, I
know it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. Because I think that they could or should get one from Kansas City this year. I don't know. Though. So I'm going to be optimistic. Say it's a dub. Kansas City is half-assing it. They're trying not to get hurt for the playoffs. You've seen, I think that basketball right now has shown how fatigue, especially in the playoffs, can really hinder your ability to compete at the next level or for championships at the next level. And so I bet that there'll be some strategic snap counts, all those kind of things. I think Kansas City will have the division wrapped up. I would assume that they know where they're going to play within their seeds. Maybe things are jumbled, but probably not, to be honest with you. So with that in mind, even if not, the Broncos handed it to Kansas City last year in Denver. I think a chance to go above 500 and have a 9-8 could get you in the playoffs. It did last year. I think this team will be pumped and motivated to kind of get the monkey off their back.
Yeah, I probably would lean the other way. The caveat being like, is Kansas City going to come out and play for anything? At this point they may have locked down the top seed, or or at least is solidly in a top position, probably with a bye week going into the playoffs. I don't know. It's hard. Divisional games are always tough. It doesn't matter who's playing, and so it makes me worry. The fact that we beat them last year, I think they're going to want to probably make a statement in this game, even if it's starting guys in the first half and then pulling them at some point. It's just hard. It's a hard thing to equate. I would probably lean loss, but I could be talking to a win, mostly just because I think that they may not be playing for anything. So let's mark it as a dub.
Boom. You're first, and Broncos will be 9-8, winning record first time 2016, and vying for a wild card position. I think most of all, whether they're 8-9, 9-8, assuming that Bo Nix is their quarterback, I think that shows that we found the guy. I think if they're that competitive to get this team around 500 or keep them around there, that he played pretty well. And I think in the end, that is the thing that matters, is that the dude. And for him, right, if he wants to be the dude, he just has to be good enough to make sure that the Broncos are not in premium position to draft a quarterback next year, right? Like he can stop or negative outcomes if he plays well. You know, it will make the team much more hesitant to draft a first-round QB probably. So that to me is kind of the crux. Having a winning season again for a franchise where that was a given to now it's like we squeak in. I think that would be big in creating even more momentum into next year, where this team will have a ton more cap space, a full complement of their draft, and some young talent on the roster that they've accumulated as of late. So let's hope. 8, 9, 9, and 8. All those to me, would love to see them playing on, Kansas City on the road and play like that. So we'll see, but not bad. I feel good about the exercise. I feel like we didn't have on the glasses too much, and I'm excited after training camp to see if we're more or less confident.
Yeah, me too. I think training camp is going to be eye-opening. Obviously, we're going to have to see who's healthy and who's not when we get through it. That's always a big factor for every team. Seems like, everyone takes at least 1 or 2 hits during camp, some bigger than others for sure. So obviously that will play into when we do this exercise again after camp rolls around, maybe into the preseason games. Get some eyes on Bo Nix in preseason, see how he's looking, see what the buzz is around that quarterback battle, and do it again. But I think, I do think it was fair. I think I probably leaned a little more optimistic than I would sometimes. But I'm hopeful for this team. I'm hopeful. Bo Nix can show even a little bit of promise. And if we can get, like you said, we're not in a position to draft quarterback. The best case scenario is that Bo Nix is the guy. So we should be rooting for that.
Right. Well, it's been fun, bro. It's been fun. Let's call it here. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We appreciate you. Went a little over, so thank you for tuning in extra long. And again, we'll do this again, kind of coming out of camp and see if we're feeling as optimistic or maybe not quite as optimistic. We'll see. But thank you again for joining us. We appreciate you for giving us some time today. Reach out to us on socials if you want to talk sports. Any Denver sports, we will talk with you for sure. But thank you. Have a good day. It's nice and early, so enjoy the weather before it gets too rainy. And if you need a sports prescription, ask a doctor. Holla at your boy.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flame out. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my life.